Hello, folks, and welcome to this episode of Alt-Right Bum Fights, post-game analysis. I am your very bald and Italian host, Davis Aurini. I'm here with the very bald Matt Forney. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. And speaking of bum fights, I just saw on Twitter, on Gab, that Baked Alaska is hosting an episode of Blood Sports with Jared Taylor and Tariq Nasheed.
Who's Tariq Nasheed again?
He's like the comically black guy on Twitter who's always calling everything racist. But he also identifies as a Martin Luther King Republican.
Oh, yeah. This guy.
Oh, he also used to be a PUA. Like, he wrote The Art of Mackin' and The Mac Within and The Guide to Gold Digging. Yeah, he's taken seriously as a serious political commentator, while guys like Rouge are like, ooh, equal rapey.
Well, he's going against Jared Taylor.
He's going against Jared Taylor.
I'm sure they're going to have a productive and interesting conversation.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right. Well, to finish off introductions, we, of course, have Artistic Layman doing the visuals for all of this and doing an amazing job, as usual. And the topic, I don't know if we've talked about this before, Forney, homosexual grooming and leftism in the alt-right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have talked about this. Maybe we have. Maybe we haven't. Maybe it was just a fever dream I had. Maybe it was just a hallucination from all the shrooms I take.
I wish the whole thing was nothing but a fever dream. Listen, folks, I was just on a live stream with Rocking Mr. E and Coach Red Pill, and now I can't remember I literally remember David Black.
Michael Black.
Michael Black, yeah, thank you. Literally knew his name 30 seconds before we started. And I mentioned this to them. They had no idea whatsoever. They're like, wait, what? What the hell is this? So I thought it would be a good idea because we have some breaking news. And yeah, but Luke's got the picture up there. That's the breaking news. We will get to that part. I think it'd be useful to discuss what the hell happened to the alt-right. How 2 years ago, a whole bunch of political philosophers and reporters and meme lords from 4chan, how they all got kicked out and the alt-right turned into a bunch of gay Nazis.
Yeah, that would be worth, yeah. But here's the problem with that, discussing that, Davis. Where the fuck do we start? Because there's so much. It's like explaining the canon of Christian, okay? You figure it'd be easy to describe, but you have to go all the way back to the beginning and sift through all this lore, all this drama.
What do you know about the alt-right?
Yeah, what do you know? Ugh.
I think the first inklings that you and I had that there was something rotten in the state of Denmark was the TRS forum. Now, you and I were big proponents of the TRS forum when it first started. You had some articles published there. I was friends with a bunch.
Yeah, I don't want to oversell it, but we were both original members of the TRS. Started out as a private Facebook group, and we were both like some of the earliest members of that group. And it was a pretty good group back in the day. Pretty fun place for discussion and trolling and whatnot. And then they started the website, and I was actually a co-admin of the website with Mike Enoch in the very early days. I don't want to oversell my role. All I did was like install some WordPress plugins, but that's and I wrote for the site a bit. But this was way back in the past. Yeah, that was my involvement with it.
We like these younger kids. We like seeing the young guys get into the whole manosphere, politics, right-wing stuff. We liked it. And then my story was that there was a female member with a terrible marriage that was a member of this forum that everybody wanted to sleep with. And me, like a complete fool, tried to be her friend, tried to help her with her marriage, and then she sucked me into a nefarious relationship while she was divorcing her husband. Now, TRS flipped their lids because they all wanted to sleep with her. They wanted their perfect Aryan waifu. Right? They wanted the Madonna, and I turned Madonna into a whore. So they started attacking me. Then you were also working at Return of Kings. And so the same beta male, doesn't understand women, blue pill BS caused them to start hating you because you were friends with the notorious Dindu pickup artist, Roosh V. And this all came to a head when you met them at a conference, didn't it?
Yes, basically. I should also mention involvement with the site. It was my involvement with the site that led it to be initially noticed back in 2012 because I wrote articles there and Colin Liddell started syndicating them to Alternative Right when that was still going on. But anyway, I met Mike Enoch and Bulbasaur at Amren. Well, they came up to me and like they recognized me. I didn't recognize them. I was like, and Mike Enoch said straight up to me, he was like, dude, that thing in the couple years ago, it was just internet drama. Whatever. Let's bury the hatchet. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Who cares? I don't give a shit. And what happens was a couple days later, they're nice to my faces the entire time. And it's not like I was hanging out with them a big deal during Amran, but they were nice to my faces the entire time. They go home and they record a podcast shitting on me for like 30 minutes, talking about what an asshole I was and I was drunk and blah, blah, blah. And also insulting me for being fat, which given how rotund Mike Enoch was is fucking hilarious. It was mostly the bitchness of it that really shocked me because my impression I even said this on a podcast when I came back and I recorded a podcast about Amran. I was like, hey, they were pretty solid guys. And then I heard they did a podcast shitting on me. Oh, well, there's that. And let me stress, I'm not butthurt about this, okay? You fucking millennial idiots reducing everything down to high school drama games. Yeah, I cite this incident as an example, as a data point on a graph. A data point showing the certain, just like all the other data points we have about the TRS crowd. It shows how unreliable they are, how they frequently lie and stab people in the back, how they have no sense of honor, how they have no sense of propriety. It's just an example of that. And I cite it because it's a perfect example. It's not me being butthurt. I don't give a damn. I'm just talking about it as a data point, which you idiots need to learn to understand.
Play that clip from Sargon. Luke?
You are acting like a bunch of niggers.
That right there. Like, again, I'm not butthurt. I'm the one that cucked all of them, okay? So I'm not the one hurting here. But from the earliest days, TRS, like guys, we all got raised in the church of liberalism, okay? We all grew up in the casual sex, pornified culture. And part of being in the right wing, part of waking up to, feminism is toxic. Well, after a year or so, you realize, wait a minute, if I'm picking up feminist sluts all the time and I'm acting like a clown to entertain them, then I'm kind of supporting feminism in that process, aren't I? So every single one of us is on this path of self-development. But what we saw coming out of the right stuff was purity spiraling and basic bitch behavior, pretending that they were better than everybody else while acting like a bunch of catty schoolgirls, saying one thing to your face and another thing behind your back. And this is where Forney and I first started noticing that something was wrong in the state of Denmark. Then there's the incident of that young lad that you and I Skyped with him back in, what was it, 2015, I think?
2016.
2016. A young lad that was, now as I recall, he had a single mother. He didn't really have masculine role models. He was a bit confused. You and I tried to, give him a bit of advice. It's like, dude, it sucks. Here's how you become a man. He got groomed. We think it was the same guy. We know that he went by the same screen name online. He got seduced by Ghoul, the guy with 2 lesbian mummies who was dating a transsexual, last I heard. One of the big important voices on TRS groomed and seduced a young boy. They didn't have sex until it was legal age in the state where their pool party occurred. But given that that's when it happened, he likely was grooming him for a bit before that.
Yes.
Anything to add to that?
Yes. Now, we don't have any hard evidence that the Andy we talked to was the same Andy who was groomed by Ghoul. But the thing is, these circles aren't that big, okay? The Andy that Ghoul groomed was from Chicago. He had a troubled home life. He was a teenager, younger than 18, 17, 18, around that period. and was big into right-wing politics. Well, the Andy we talked to was also from Chicago, was also around that age range, 17, 18, had a troubled home life, and was into right-wing politics. And I know from talking to our Andy that he liked TRS. So it's too circumstantial to ignore.
And there's a secondary definition to grooming. I've brought this up before. There is a lot of overlap. And there's an old poster on the Rouge V forum who did a lot of research into this, into all of the gay, the homosexual Nazi propaganda, the extensive Tumblr accounts by gay white supremacist Nazis. And one of the elements to grooming is what you're doing when you groom somebody is you're denying them agency. You're preventing them. They're like a bonsai tree. You cut them off before they can really grow, and you mold them into your perfect idyllic. Like it's almost like what communists do to an economy, the groomer does to the individual. And another issue that I have, again, you and I have both run into this, and we cut some friends off for damn good reason, and right before they really went over the edge, because of the consistent hatred of Rouge V. Now, I've said it before, you don't need to like Rouge V. There's plenty that you can disagree with, and maybe you just don't like his writing style. But we're talking a very deep-seated and pathological hatred, where we would talk to somebody that's completely reasonable until Rouge V comes up, and they start screaming like a demon. And the reason is that Rouge V teaches you life skills that make you successful with women. And the homosexuals don't want you successful with women because how are they going to convert you? And the neo-Nazis don't want you successful with women because otherwise you might not show up to that Charlottesville march. You might have something too precious to risk your life for the glory of Richard Spencer. So these elements of grooming, these elements of grooming have been in the alt-right right from the get-go. Even though these guys should have been coming out of the manosphere, well, as Becklov says, they skipped the manosphere on the way. They are, when it comes to women, they are completely blue-pilled. And if you want to see an example of this, look at the recent Warski stream, the alt-right bum fight between Rouge versus the Tots. And, well, I guess you can't see it now, but I clicked on it a few times, and the chat was just full of the most pathetic white knights defending Milady's honor. So I think that anything else that we should cover? Oh, yeah. I mean, wasn't there a honeypot that managed to get into the alt-right through the gay bathhouse scene?
Yeah, well, first off, I want to just say Beckloff wants to join the stream. I sent you a message, but...
Oh, yeah. Give me a sec, Beckloff.
But anyway, yes, basically, the other prong of this, aside from the right stuff, is a person by the name of Grinder, Greg Johnson, the openly homosexual proprietor of Countercurrents. Though he's pretty good at trying to disguise his homosexuality, he just doesn't talk about it. He just says shit like homophobia is Jewish, and he publishes a pederast, and he's surrounded by weirdos like Michael Polignano, a guy who shits in his own hand and flings it around his apartment.
He also he's done a great job hiding his face, leading some to suspect that his face might appear in unfortunate video.
Yes, gay porn. Well, anyway, what happened earlier this year was that, actually last year, this gay Swedish Antifa infiltrated Grinder Greg Johnson circles by what he did was he posed as a member of the alt-right, this young Swedish nationalist named Eric Hellberg. And while infiltrating the alt-right, he got access to all these secret vetting-only venues like the London Forum and the Northwest Forum and the Skansa Forum in Stockholm. He spoke at the Northwest Forum, which is a conference organized by Greg Johnson. And while we don't have hard evidence of this, there's all the evidence to suggest that Grinder Greg Johnson had sex with this gay Antifa. Because we've seen Greg liking this the fake Facebook profile that this Antifa set up to pretend he was alt-right. Greg Johnson was liking his pictures and all that, which is always step one in the guy's grooming process. He's done this to a bunch of other kids in the movement. And yeah, basically, alt-right OPSEC was completely destroyed by one Swedish faggot.
Matt, I just got to correct you. It's not Grinder Greg. It's Greater Good Greg.
Yeah.
Because he knows what's best for you.
Yes, yeah, that's his other thing too. He was going on about how society needs to be more paternalistic, not realizing that a paternalistic society would throw him in the bog.
Yeah, every time I hear him arguing for something, it's always about how, freedom is stupid. Everything should be structured around the greater good. And I'm like, am I really listening to Paz Loads over here lecturing me about the greater good?
And I should say that, you know what? I'll be the first one to have sympathy for somebody suffering same-sex temptation. All right? Especially these days when it's pushed on you young, you're growing up with a single mom, and you got trap porn all over 4chan-B. I've got some sympathy for people. But the fact of the matter is that when you study the gay community, it's a very predatory and self-destructive. They will never show you older gay people and what their life is actually like, because they are just the ones that are still alive are completely broken, and they are desperate to spread this broken nature to all of the young men, because that's the only way they can reproduce, is by infecting others.
Med-resistant AIDS.
Exactly. God, Luke, I love you so much. So I think that about catches up. Those are the major bullet points of the history. Anything I'm missing? Becklaw, Forney, anything else we should toss out there?
I think you got most of it. Well, we could go into Grinder Greg Johnson's sordid history of we got everything. Okay. And I'll get to the latest development.
All right, now there's another argument that this began when Forney and I noticed, as I said earlier, that the guys on TRS were acting like basic bitches. They were acting like white knights. They were acting like girls. They were acting like SJWs. All right, and this is everybody that disagrees with me is an SJW. Well, no, if you act like a fucking SJW, you're an SJW. Like take Sargon of Akkad. The man is a snake. The man is terrified that somebody will make him sound stupid. That's why he calls other people stupid all the time. He's a backstabber. He's not very bright. But he doesn't act like an SJW. He just acts like a snake. The people over on TRS were acting like right-wing SJWs. It was almost as if they were too white and male to be part of the radical left. And so instead they started counter-signaling on the radical right. Thoughts on this, Forney? Becklov?
No, that sounds about right. I mean, the racist liberal meme didn't come, they're just racist leftists. That didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, you look at a guy like Spencer, and he's pro-homosexual, he's pro-abortion, and he's a socialist economically. Last I heard, we call those leftists.
Well, and in that case, the recent bit of news is, Forney, you were supposed to have a very special guest to discuss the homosexual grooming in the alt-right on your live stream this week.
Yes, I was. Yes, Luke and I were going to be interviewing Pill Eater on Monday night. Pill Eater, he's a creator of Asian Arianism, kind of an odd kid. I'm not dissing him by saying that. He pretty much fess up to it, but he's a good kid, and I've been on his show before. He's all right. And the reason I was going to be talking to him about it, because he has actually admitted to being groomed by Grinder Greg Johnson. All the lavish attention. He admitted this publicly in a Facebook conversation we had on my profile, which is technically private, but nothing you post in an environment like that is ever going to be 100% private. But anyway, Pill Eater, I asked him to come on my show to discuss this because I didn't want to talk about drama, but you and I, Aurini, have been harping on this issue for a while now, and we have someone who has firsthand experience. And it was not just Grinder Greg Johnson who was grooming this kid. He was being groomed by other members of the he lives in Philadelphia, and he was being groomed by other members of the Philadelphia alt-right scene, such as one name he brought up was Klaus Brinker, who is another homo nationalist in the scene. He brought up two others who are like minor figures who like tried to send him dick pics and groped his ass whenever he went to events. He also talked about most people here probably have heard of Emily Eucas, the cartoonist and satirist, the former Pistachio girl for the Phillies, who got fired after it was revealed that she was an alt-righter. He claims that she's ex-Antifa and is also a major drug addict who only joined the alt-right because she wanted to promote her punk band. And I wanted to talk about all this stuff going on to sort of approach the issue of homosexual grooming and how to combat it, how to combat these negative influences. But what happened was, he tells me the day before we're going to stream that he wants to cancel because he has a job interview on Monday. And I'm like, whatever. Sure, if these things happen. And I asked him, let's reschedule to later in the week. He doesn't get back to me, but he posts this video on his own channel talking about how do your own thing. The alt-right is dead. And he's like, he just wants to disassociate from everyone. And as it turns out, according to Daniel Freeberg, who is going? I invited him to be on the show. He might show up. I don't know. He hasn't responded. I think he's asleep right now. But he talked to Pill Eater, and for it looks like Grinder Greg Johnson chewed his way back into Pill Eater's head. And Pill Eater's all like, well, I don't know. I mean, you guys say one thing, but Grinder Greg says another thing. And he didn't say Grinder Greg, but
somebody told me not to talk to Forney. And listen, you're going to be nice to him. I'm not. I'm going to show him some tough fatherly, tough brotherly love.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any resentment against the guy. I'm obviously disappointed he chose not to do this, but I don't hate the guy.
Oh, I don't.
And I hope he would reconsider.
I'm going to shit on him for his own good right now. Now, first of all, you can already see from his face the guy drinks a lot of soy. All right, but what really stood out to me in that video is first when somebody talked to him. He started saying that he doesn't need Richard Spencer shooting his gun at me on Twitter. This is a liberal statement. This is a leftist statement that somebody saying mean shit to you is exactly the same as physical violence. What else did he say? He talked about how he originally joined the alt-right as a teenager because he wanted to do I think he called it the radical art, the offensive art, that posting stuff in defense of the white race was really edgy and it would upset people. Again, this is a left-wing narrative. Okay, 10 years ago, it was a guy in Vancouver sitting on a bus bench masturbating while he held a chicken. These days, they're joining the alt-right, they're joining TRS, and they're posting pictures of Jews.
Yes.
Same motivation.
It's political hipsterism.
Say again, Beckloff?
I said, how did you know about my Vancouver vacation?
Hey, that's protected speech in Canada. And finally...
You don't understand me and that chicken's love.
There's one thing that he just... A clip from the video. Luke, could you play it for us?
That I disagree with now. That, in a way, I think I'm just an ex-leftist or a new kind of leftist that's being born and taking in what realities matter. Like the whole, people call it red pill or anti-SJW.
Yeah. He even says, I'm an ex-leftist, I'm a new leftist. Okay, these people are leftists. You also notice the uptalk in his voice. Would you guys subscribe to my stream if I talked like this all the time? Soy, weakness, leftism, bitchiness, and uptalk. That's the alt-right with a good dosage of homosexual grooming. And you know what the interesting thing is? He also talks about the rampant drug addiction in the alt-right. He implies that Richard Spencer does cocaine. Which, I don't know, do you find that surprising? I don't know if it's true. He didn't explicitly say it.
Well, I had a beer with Daniel Freeberg last night, and he's close friends with Spencer. And we've shat on Spencer a lot. I don't like the guy at all. But Freeberg says that he doesn't think that Spencer uses cocaine. And frankly, I'm I'm inclined to believe Freeberg because he's one of the closest friends I have, and he's a genuinely trustworthy guy. And he would know, and he's in a position to know whether or not Spencer is using cocaine. I think Spencer's using other drugs, not cocaine. I think he's an opioid addict and at bare minimum an alcoholic, going by his recent videos. But I don't know. I don't think he's a cocaine user.
Think he's into poppers?
Gotta loosen up those guts, nigga.
But even still, I would say that, and I said the same thing to Freeberg last night. I would say that drug use is far is not even comparable to grooming young boys. Okay, if Spencer is doing cocaine, the only person who's being harmed by that, really, the person who's taking is Spencer himself. Okay, he wants to blow out his heart valves through some through Columbia's finest. That doesn't really affect anyone but him. I mean,
affect you.
It does, yeah. I mean, well, it does in a sense, but not to the degree that actively seeking out young boys, confusing them with their respect for you, and then tricking them into letting you fuck them in the ass does, which is what Grinder Greg Johnson does.
Yeah, but Matt, he knows what the greater good is. He knows what's best for you. So just bend over.
This is going to teach you to be really white. You'll be white on both ends. But yeah, the alt-right has been very nihilistic and self-destructive, especially over the past year. And this is an effect of the homosexual infiltration. The homosexual scene is extremely self-destructive, extremely degrading, ultimately pointless. On the one hand, they worship masculinity, but then they desecrate it at the exact same time, which is exactly what we're seeing from the alt-right. The rampant drug, this does bother me, the rampant drug use. Okay, like I'm hardly some sort of, a Republican that thinks everything needs to be illegal. But really rampant in this social environment, given how far things are going off the rails, the same people that decry Rouge V as degenerate are getting high on coke and sleeping with dudes. Or traps. Meanwhile, they encourage their followers to worship women.
Yeah, Grinder Greg Johnson is really big on that. He's he's a big defender of trad thoughts, to the point where he actually tried to dox me because I made fun of Tara McCarthy. Now, he miserably failed in this because he revealed what I was doing for a living at the time, but I have a different job now, so I'm obviously no longer doing that. But still, he basically teaches the most twisted moral code imaginable, where homosexuality is okay, but you better defer to the women, white man. Don't attack women. That's unbecoming and it's not white of you to attack these traditionalist women who are spreading our message.
By the way, guys, the equality woman will not have a gay best friend. Okay, I've heard guys say that I love that my girlfriend is a gay best friend because it's somebody that'll go to the club and dance with her, and I don't have to put up with that BS. Do what the gay best friend is doing. He is spreading his sickness. He is saying, "Well, honey, why are you so? You don't have to be loyal to one man. He's so bossy. Why do you listen to him?" The gay guy that's friends with your woman is undermining your authority. And if he talks to you, he's going to say, "Oh, don't be mean to her. Don't tell her what to do. You better worship the white woman." The same way that these gays worship Cher.
Yes, gay men are just trying to they try to poison women because one of the roots of homosexuality is hatred of normality. They hate straight people. They really do. They hate heterosexual men. They hate heterosexual women, and they try to drive a wedge between men and women at every opportunity. So if your girlfriend has a gay bestie, he's going to be filling her with feminism. He's going to be filling her with with all this body positive, you girl bullshit. It's why gay men are such big boosters of feminism and whatnot. I mean, I know there have been guys like Andy Bob and Jack Donovan who've been trying to argue that that gay men were duped by feminists into supporting their causes, but that's never going to work. Gay men are always enthusiastic supporters of pause and societal degeneracy because they want to undermine society. They want to undermine normality because they hate normality. It's the very core of their being. You know, I mean, look at Greg Johnson as a perfect example. Guy fucking again, homophobia is Jewish. He believes that homophobia is a Jewish conspiracy to undermine the white race. He publishes a man, James O'Meara, a cross-dressing pederast who literally argues that heterosexuality was socially constructed by the Jews in the 1950s as a way to undermine the Mannerbund and keep Aryan men from forming tight, manly bonds with one another. I'm not making any of this up. This dude has published 2 books arguing this thesis, both through Countercurrent Publishing.
It's like the meme where it's like it's like broke, the Jews are pushing homosexuality on us, and then it's like woke, the Jews are pushing heterosexuality on us.
You know, what absolutely lacks from the alt-right is actual masculinity. You get nothing but plastic masculinity from them. You get the faux warrior. You get all of these jokers wearing the black sun on everything. All of these symbols, like the whole Pepe and Kek thing was subverted by Satanists right from the get-go. And if you go to Aleister Crowley writes about how gay anal sex is a source of power.
Yeah, it's part of the levels of sex magic. Having anal sex in the satanic view, in the Crowleyist view, will actually give you positive powers to affect the world.
Oh, it'll give you positive powers, all right.
Beckloff, you're on fire tonight.
Pause powers.
Osnos.
So yeah, they create this boyish masculinity, this angry boy masculinity, marching with tiki torches and satanic symbols on your shields, and they flip Pepe the Frog from what it originally was into just another satanic symbol. They undermine and corrupt everything they possibly can. This is what they do. This is what they live for. They do not want to see actual growth. They do not want to see stability and normality and healthiness. They don't want to see true masculine strength. They want the equivalent of the bodybuilder. Okay, that chest waxed, muscles grown to ridiculous proportions, no water for a couple of days so that your skin thins so you can see everything and all the veins bulging out. That is not what a man looks like. But that is what the alt-right would have. And if they can't have that, they'll have somebody marching down the street and screaming with a tiki torch, which again is a leftist method of politics.
You should get Grinder Greg to come on here, Matt, because I'd like to ask him just a question I had out of curiosity. Do gay guys have to avoid spicy food?
We may already know the answer to that question. I know Common Filth had an episode of Tumblristas of a gay guy who was wondering about how he did choose between anal or Chipotle.
Well, Chipotle's garbage, but something good like Popeyes or something. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Well, Grinder Greg would never agree to a debate with me because he knows that
spicy food doesn't bother him in that way because it's just they can't feel a thing anymore.
Well, that was another thing Common Filth talked about on an episode of Common Filth Extra. A gay dude who was getting rimmed by his boyfriend, and he starts defecating on the guy's face, and because his sphincter is so blown out, he can't tell if he's defecating or not. But Grinder Greg would never agree to a debate with me because he knows that I would immediately undercut him by bringing up all his sordid history and all the disgusting thing he's promoted.
He really
is a coward. Like
every time he's running his mouth about because you can certainly argue about the the balance between the individual and the society and all that. But he outright argues that basically freedom is stupid. Everything has to be completely around the greater good. No individual freedom whatsoever. And at the same time, I mean, does he think any society that functions the way he imagines would not be sending him to, at best, a re-education camp for his proclivities? I don't understand how he functions with that disconnect.
Forney, why don't we talk a little bit about who Greg Johnson is? Because a lot of people are probably unfamiliar. You know him best. What is it? He's been mostly behind the scenes. What has he done in the alt-right? How important is he?
Well, yeah. Well, I really wish we'd had Daniel on the stream because he knows. He's actually worked with Grinder Greg and met him in person. But basically, Greg Johnson, he founded Countercurrents back in 2010. His big thing before that was he was the editor-in-chief of the Occidental Quarterly, which is a pretty good white nationalist, scholarly journal. It's a pretty good outlet. He tried to destroy it back when he was editor-in-chief because back in 2010 he had a gay meltdown. He stole the keys to the office, and he stole the keys to the website, and he sat on it for a month demanding to be paid, or else he would just never turn. And he also seized the subscriber database. They finally figured out how to wrest control of it from him, nearly wiping out the magazine in the process. And after burning his bridges with that, he went to go found Countercurrents. His big thing since then was just publishing books, mostly weird esoterica, like some thoughts on Hitler and all these weird book reviews he publishes under a pseudonym. He writes under pseudonyms a lot. Like a good third of the bylines on Countercurrents are actually him writing under a different name. Like Trevor Lynch, for example, is his pseudonym for writing movie reviews. And he actually had a female pseudonym at one point, which he was using to try and attack the Roosh and the Manosphere by claiming that guys who practice game are like misogynistic and have no manners and they're not worthy of our white heritage. And and he also publishes James O'Meara, like I said, as a pederast who argues that heterosexuality is socially constructed by the Jews. And that's his basic thing. This sort of dweeby, Nietzschean, homo-nationalist stuff. But for some reason, well, a lot of people is like, I respect him. He's a great intellect, because they don't actually read anything he writes. To paraphrase Mark Twain, Greg Johnson's work is like is stuff that people praise, but they don't actually read it.
And I was having this conversation with somebody recently. Let's say that this is just so endemic of what we're talking about. Let's say that you, honest to God, you read Mein Kampf and you studied World War II history and you studied the National Socialist Party of Germany. And you were really convinced that, that Hitler guy was really onto something. And you decided that you were going to start a movement to bring that in to American politics. Would you call yourself a Nazi? Not unless you were a complete idiot. The thing is, if you support Hitler's policies, then what you would do is take those policies, come up with a brand new name for them, and then apply them to American politics to try and get it popular. And yet these people just love the Nazi symbolism.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Luke putting the flames underneath Greg Johnson's books. That's great. Well, they should be burned.
They should. Again, this is just the intellectual equivalent of the gay Nazi tumblers. That's all it is. This is masturbation. This is worshiping the thing that you want to destroy.
Gay Nazi Tumblr blogs.
The thing with the National Socialists. Well, the thing with the National Socialists is that even Hitler himself wrote of in his time of Nazi imitation movements in other countries. He said he hated them. He said they were all just pale imitations, and he said even Hitler himself said straight up, if you're going, National Socialism is not an exportable ideology. It's for the German people alone at a certain time in history. If you want to, revitalize your country and have, nationalism, you have to start from completely different premises based on what your country's situation is, and then work your way up from there. You can't just simply imitate the Nazis. You can't just simply imitate Hitler. Hitler himself said this.
LARPing as Nazis to me would be like if Hitler LARPed his fucking Confederate guys.
Yeah, that's what Ramsey Paul said. Like I saw a perfect example of it this morning. There's in Illinois' 3rd congressional district, I believe it is, which is a Democratic district, but not it's Democratic leaning. It's a district that Republicans could win. But the Republican candidate for that district, because of a lack of interest in running, is Art Jones, a literal neo-Nazi. And I'm looking at his campaign website, and you know what the issue he's campaigning on is? It's not immigration, it's not jobs, economy, or anything that people would actually care about. He's campaigning against the supposed tax on kosher food being levied by rabbis. He's claiming that kosher certification involves paying rabbis money, and as a result, all food in the U.S. and other countries as it's going on is subject to a secret religious tax by the Jews. This is his number one campaign issue.
Hey, listen,
congratulations.
I'm not saying the Jew tax on kosher pickles either, okay? But who gives it? If you actually care about that, Jesus Christ, like these people are not interested in winning.
That's not exactly high on the list of priorities.
Yeah, and I posted this, and some guy was like, well, it's an important issue. I don't want to pay the Jew tax because I'm not Jewish. And I'm like, okay, good. Go and tell some normal white people that the Jews are secretly taxing our food, and you want to stop it. They're gonna look at you like you're fucking nuts. Okay.
Once a month, the rabbi comes in to the Bix pickle factory, casts a magic spell, and then they're allowed to make Jew pickles for the Jews. All right, so that's your huge tax. One rabbi per month per Bix bottling plant. I don't really care. I'm far more concerned about halal slaughterhouses that torture animals, okay? I'm far more concerned about the open borders. I'm far more concerned about, the people kind of Canada going extinct, as our prime minister might say.
Yes.
I don't give a damn about magic Jew pickles.
Yes, talking about magic Jew pickles is an issue to talk about after you shifted the Overton window to the right, so far to the right, that I was going to say Richard Spencer looks like a leftist, but he already is. That Donald Trump looks like a communist, okay? That's what you do then. You don't do it now. You don't blow your wad now because you're not going to get anywhere. I named Steve King as a perfect example of how you could push alt-right, ethno-nationalist ideas and be successful. Steve King is a longtime congressman from Iowa who approvingly quotes Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary, all the time. And Steve King literally talks about how if we replace whites with non-whites, this isn't going to be America anymore. And he does this all the time. He's very successful. He's very popular. He's electorally bulletproof. Okay.
Well, he doesn't have evil in his eyes.
Well, yeah. You know what? He's successful. He's not. He's talking about issues that Americans actually care about, and he's still pushing the Overton window right by steadily ramping up his dog whistles. You know what he isn't doing? He isn't talking about the secret Jew tax on pickles.
Once again, the homosexual could have eliminated HIV in the 80s if they wanted to. It's, you know what, guess what? Condoms don't really do anything but prevent pregnancy and HIV. Pretty much the rest of the STDs you can still catch with a condom. So really, the people that should be wearing condoms are gays. And if they'd worn condoms, there would be no HIV. We would not have to spend $16,000 a month on every person that decides they need their GRIDS medication. But they have no interest in actually preventing HIV. They have quite the opposite. They want to spread the pause to as many people as possible. This is why it's now legal in California to spread HIV, or it's not legal, but it's now a misdemeanor. This is why you have pool parties. And this is why the alt-right consistently destroys itself. Because their very modus operandi is homosexual and life-hating. But no, we got to worry about those Jew pickles, right?
Well, even the other thing I talk about, and this is something that I always catch hell from the
I just saw
Uyghur
a typical Jew.
Rick Sanchez, more like Rick Sanchez. Am I right? But I was making this point to I've made this point on Gab, and it always pisses off the Whig or nationalists when I say this. Okay, it doesn't matter if you think National Socialism has some good ideas, and to be frank, it probably does. I haven't read deeply into the literature as some other people have. It doesn't matter that maybe if you think that the death count in the Holocaust was inflated, none of that matters. The simple reality is that a part of America's cultural heritage is fighting and winning a war against the Nazis. You are never going to when you try to adapt National Socialist, call yourself a National Socialist or adapt Nazi ideas, you are working against nearly 100 years of ingrained cultural memory in the American psyche. In fact,
the vast majority of Americans, whether it's right or wrong, see the Nazis as the bad guys that Captain America and Indiana Jones fought.
They see Hitler in a mecha suit in Wolfenstein 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to bring something else too. There's a common counterpoint when I point that out. It's like, the Whig nationalists will be like, but there were a lot of Americans who were supportive of Hitler and didn't want to go to war. And they'll post like pictures of the German-American Bund and stuff like that. And the famous rally the German-American Bund had in 1936 where they had 20,000 Nazis assembling at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, but here's the thing. The German-American Bund, basically German immigrants and descendants of German immigrants, i.e. people who are not part of America's founding stock. The part of the country, U.S. that was, that had the fewest number of immigrants and the greatest amount of percentage of American founding stock, British, the South, they wanted to go to war with Nazi Germany as soon as war was declared in Europe. They were the most... They were the most gung-ho to go to war. The South, okay? The parts of the U.S. that were pro-Germany or pro-isolationist were that way because of immigrants that, frankly, should not have been let into the U.S. to begin with.
One of the comments was saying that you need to be, instead of punishing people, you need to be pushing them to the light. Again, folks, and nobody wants to hear this, y'all need Jesus. Christianity is what made Western civilization great. Okay? And it's the same. Well, oh God. I mean, the alt-right is now like sometimes they're going, we was Romans and shit too, and they want to turn they're obsessed with Nero and the Bacchanalia that existed during the falling days of Rome. No, folks, you need traditionalism. You need responsibility. And so this relates to what Pill-Eater was saying about the drug abuse that's rampant in the alt-right circles. Nobody ever invited me to those parties. But this drug use, this is not civilization. I mean, these same people that white knight against Rouge for telling you how to meet women in this extremely broken dating market are doing drugs and having pool parties and sleeping with trannies and inviting in punk girl musicians that just want to promote themselves an attention whore and get high. And we can't listen to any like 80s wave because we're going to have new wave music. There's not an ounce of traditionalism in it. It is all left-wing, edgy bullshit. See, at least, when you listen to Trent Reznor or you listen to Marilyn Manson, it's open about being an anti-society degenerate. These people are anti-society degenerates that won't admit it and want to pretend they're part of the solution.
Have you heard of Jesus?
Yeah, y'all motherfuckers need Jesus. Yeah, I should point out also with Nazi sympathy in the U.S. prior to World War II and how it was concentrated among German immigrants. I was watching this earlier today. I was watching this mini documentary of footage of the German-American Bunds meeting on Madison Square Garden in 1936, and the person who put it together was a liberal who's going to be like, oh, it could happen again, blah, blah, blah. But I had to burst out laughing because one of the guys who was giving a speech was this German, and he was talking about, our demands are simple. We demand that America be returned to the people who founded it. And I'm like, bitch, you have a German accent. The people who founded America doesn't include you. It includes my ancestors because I'm English, part English, okay? If the founding fathers got their way, you'd be back on the boat to Germany. And again, I'm going to say it again, the Germans should not have been allowed to emigrate if that's what your concern was. Because in World War II, they were acting as, and that was the reason why, along with the Japanese, they were put into internment camps, because they were a third column, because blood is thicker than water. The South wanted to go to war wanted to war against Germany on the side of the UK because blood is thicker than water. They felt allegiance to their kin in the UK.
All right, Church of Entropy just said something that is so incredibly stupid, and I keep hearing it. He just described Christ as a Jew corpse nailed to a tree.
Jew on a stick.
Jew on a stick. Guys, the problems that we have with certain segments of the Jewish community are the exact same problems that Christ had, and it's why the Jewish elites nailed him to a cross. I mean, how many times, like it's dog shit. Don't smell it. You know? Somebody pulls something out of the fridge and says, oh, this has been here a long time. Smell it. Don't smell it. It's right there. Christ called out the Pharisees as the hypocrites and the moneylenders that they were, as the destructive barracks lawyers that they were. And everything the alt-right claims to have against Jews, it's what Christ had against them.
Yes, it really shows the illiteracy of these people. And I should mention again, Jesus was not a Jew, okay? The Jesus was a Judean. The Jews back then did not exist. They were called Judeans. The modern day Jews are descended from the Pharisees, whereas the Judeans who followed Christ, they became the Christians, okay? Well, Judaism is comprised of the people who rejected Christ's teachings, okay? That's why Jews are so legalistic and so obsessed with rules and so obsessed with using rules to fuck over the goy, because they're the descendants of the Pharisees. They're the descendants of the people who actually like that shit.
A lot of Christians don't realize that modern Judaism is not what they read in the Old Testament.
Yeah,
they have their own New Testament, and it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, check out the Talmud, which came long after Christ, which talks about how Jesus Christ is boiling an excrement in hell, among other sick shit. That's what Jews believe. It has nothing to do with Christ.
Basically a religion of racial supremacism on the Jews' part.
Yeah, if you want to see the inheritors of the Old Testament, they go to church on Sunday. Those are the Jews. But again, it's these people.
I thought those black guys yelling, "That's right," were the Jews.
Okay, the blacks can be the Jews again. That's fine. As soon as they get those flying pyramids, we'll.
That's right. Right. That's right.
And you know what? If you have a problem with usury, which I do, if you have a problem with the promotion of pornography, and not just in the pornographic circles, but also throughout cinema and television, as I do. If you have a problem with the crass manipulation of the masses through sexual advertising, as I do, maybe you should join up with the people that actually don't like that stuff either, instead of bitching about them and going to some homosexual run getaway in the woods where you pretend you worship pagan gods. Because the only reason that this new paganism is so popular is because there are no traditions. If any of these new pagans went back to 400 AD and tried to meet up with the German pagans at the time, they'd be beheaded for acting like faggots.
The modern alt-right pagan movement, first of all, it's just a way to worship your race. You know, well, I want a white god. I don't want a Jew on a stick. So
it's white Talmudism.
But also, I mean, there's nothing to it. It's basically just right-wing Wicca.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, the right wing pagans basically they're on the right path in the sense that they crave spirituality. They're against atheism, which is one thing, but at the same time, they don't want to give up. Luke put up a picture of Jack Donovan, perfect example. And I don't want to focus shade on Jack Donovan too much because he's always been good to me, and I think his writing is helpful.
Excellent.
But the thing is, Jack Donovan, he identifies as a homosexual. And the reason why you have so many homosexuals who are also pagans in the nationalist movement is because they crave spirituality, but they reject Christianity because they value their cummies over spiritual enlightenment. Christianity says pretty unambiguously, if you're a faggot, you're going to hell. If you suck dicks, you're going to hell. If you fuck dudes in the ass, you're going to hell. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around that. And the neo-pagans can't deal with that, so they go to neo-paganism because it basically allows them to invent their own mythos. In fact, Jack Donovan has admitted to this. That Wolves of Vinland group, they basically make shit up as they go along. Their traditions and rituals and rites are stuff that they invent. He has admitted to this in writing.
I guess I'm being unfair to the Wiccans comparing it to that. They at least got a few decades worth of lore to them.
Yeah.
If you join a real organization, there are going to be certain expectations and demands placed upon you. That if you want to join our team, you need to live up to these standards. And we are living in an era of such individual libertinism. Nobody wants to follow orders. Everybody wants to be a special snowflake on the left and on the right. Nobody wants to earn their position. They want to cosplay at absolute everything. And when you get right down to it, there's really not that much difference between those soy boys lining up to see the latest turd from Disney with Star Wars pasted across it, holding up their plastic lightsabers and woo-hooing like a bunch of 13-year-old children. There's no difference between them and your average alt-writer posting dank memes and doing drugs and saying that traps aren't gay and all of this. We're a generation of brainwashed cosplayers, and you wonder why the elites are dominating us.
Yes.
Y'all need to get right with Jesus. The funny thing is,
Have you heard of Jesus?
It's supposedly ancestor worship. How do you think your great-great-grandfathers would feel about you running around with satanic symbols plastered on your body, acting like dickheads, attacking one another all the time as well? Again, all of this, you and I, Forney, have been accused of punching right by the people that won't stop attacking us.
We've been accused of punching right by people who believe in Omen, hope, and sexuality.
Again, the story that it all begins with the TRS, they were the ones that started bitching about us and bitching and bitching and bitching. And then when we finally called them out on acting like bitches, we're punching right.
Nobody ever bitches about me. I don't even have a Kiwi Farms thread yet.
Yeah, Luke does, but you don't for some reason.
I know.
Really makes you think.
Dashing Rogue just sent me $5 in super chat. The right-wing pagans reject the natural law when it suits them. A lot of modern pagans have links to Marxism. Google Starhawk and Margot Adler. It's, you know what? It's the whole 20th century. Self-serving bullshit. A refusal, it goes all the way back to the French Revolution. We don't need no king. So we're going to kill the king, and then we're going to replace him with a tyrant.
Yeah, now it's basically, and the pagans are just applying it to religion. We don't need no god. We'll make our own god out of sperm and lube. Or even the alt-right, when it comes to the concentric circles of identity and how they try to construct an identity around the weakest form of identity, which is race. They're like, I don't need no identity. I'll make my own identity. It's hot topic nationalism. in which you fashion an identity out of prefab ideas that have nothing to do with you in a fashion pose.
And this is exactly
I've heard a lot of them say, like, and it shows you that the pagan, that these new pagans, they don't take their shit seriously at all. But they're always like blood before religion. And I'm like, no, like, no, like I'm either right or wrong about Christianity. But if I'm right, then no, my fucking race doesn't come before it.
So blood before anything aside from race. What if your family disagrees with you? Well, if you follow the path of Mike Enoch,
well, they mean race when they
your
say
wife
blood.
and defend your family. So apparently,
these guys that say blood before religion, they don't even get along with their own family, and they want to lecture me because I don't openly embrace every white person. Like,
but MacLeod, you don't understand. The movement is their family now.
Yeah, the bowel movement.
I can understand that the story of Christ is kind of a big thing to swallow. It is a big thing. It's a huge claim. Okay, it sounds absolutely ridiculous on the face of it. The bigger point, I think, is that these people reject their own heritage. These uber nationalists, these white race is supreme, big taco supreme white race, reject their own damn heritage. They reject the cathedrals. They reject the music. They reject the art. They even reject the language.
Well,
okay, I love the term
point.
trap top, but it comes from the black community. They are the ultimate.
Always said blood before religion and all. Well, if Christians obviously aren't going to give up their religion, and the pagans just admit it that theirs doesn't matter that much, that why don't they be the ones to give it up then? Stop painting your dick blue and running around in the woods because you read too many fucking Thor comics as a kid, and get your ass to church on Sunday and actually have a white fucking family that functions in society. See if that doesn't work out for you.
How about you earn your place in the hierarchy as opposed to demand? Like, you're no different than feminist demanding bullshit all the time. No feminist ever wants to earn anything. Instead, she's going to have a march and she's going to wear a pussy hat and she's going to demand fair wages. So I'll tell you what, this is the sickness in the white race. This endless rebelliousness. We refuse to follow orders. We refuse to follow lawful authority. Every single one of us is trying to be a special snowflake, right from the French Revolution, where they killed the king, up to the present day, where people are defining their own genders, where the Prime Minister of Canada is replacing he's replacing mankind with people kind, for crying out loud. Guess what? Not everybody gets to be a rock and roll musician. Not everybody gets to be an award-winning scientist. Not everybody gets to be president of the United States. Not everybody gets to be if Aaron Clary does not get to be a pro basketball player, boo-hoo-hoo. Figure out your place and earn it.
Well, I got to duck out, Davis. Thanks for having me on. I got to get to bed early.
All right. Love the.
Have a good night, Gramps.
Yep. I got to. Well, some of us have adult responsibilities in the morning. All right. Later, guys.
The alt-right it was co-opted from the very beginning. I think that's really the point that we're getting at. Right from the beginning, it was
poisoned earth.
It was bitch niggers. It was bitch niggers, and of course they brought the homosexuals in, and the homosexuals just want to obsess and fantasize about their white bathhouses, and we was Romans and shit. The good thing is that the alt-right's largely made itself irrelevant. Actually, I'll tell you what, I've taken quite a bit of pleasure. I haven't watched these streams because I don't find them enjoyable, but just knowing that the liberalists and the skeptics are bashing themselves to death against the alt-right, while the alt-right does the exact same thing. Both these groups of assholes are destroying each other. Good. It allows us to get back to the work of trying to build something of ourselves and trying to... Well, here's the other thing. We are a very small group. The alt-right is a small group, and quite frankly, the few ex-members of the alt-right that can think straight and aren't a slave to their vices, we're even smaller. We are not a political movement.
We're at the meta political level, as Daniel Freeberg would put it, which is also where we technically need to be. Because in order to influence politics, you have to influence the culture. As Breitbart himself said, politics is downstream from culture. But of course, the problem with the alt-right and these groups and the liberalists and all these groups is that they're not influencing the culture. That's to do anything other than point and laugh at them.
This is why guys like Jordan Peterson are doing a hell of a lot more for Western civilization than the alt-right is. Because Jordan Peterson's actually showing you how to be a real human being again, as opposed to losing yourself in this cosplay and the fake dragon hunts that they go on. All right, we got a bunch of people that want to jump on and chat, so I'm going to toss out a few links here. And we're just going to have you one by one. It's a bit of a contentious topic.
Yeah, actually, I should elaborate something we should have elaborated on early on. Why so many of these homosexuals are driven to right-wing movements, particularly right-wing movements that are not particularly Christian. And I'll put it like this: like, homosexuals are driven to their own self-destruction, and they are fond of ideas of gay supremacy. Like, you know, the whole thing about breeders and stuff, they actually do believe it. It's not ironic. Gay people really do believe that they are superior. Gay men really do believe that they are superior to the rest of us. That is in part due to the Crowleyist influence, because, you know, Crowleyist taught that anal sex was the way to personal power. And homosexuals crave their own self-destruction, which is why they always do self-destructive things. You know, you get a lot of faggots involved in far-right politics, and you also have a lot of faggots who are, you know, we saw this during the election where even though Muslims are engaged in homophobic violence against gays, with the Pulse nightclub shooting, even though Hillary Clinton was being funded by Saudi, a place where they deal with the gay problem by throwing them off of rooftops. 4 out of 5 homosexuals voted for Hillary Clinton. Appealing to the self-preservation instinct of a sodomite will always be a losing maneuver, because if sodomites had a self-preservation instinct, they wouldn't be sodomites. Their very existence, identity, is rooted in what is the most dangerous sexual act a person can perform. Anal sex, particularly at the quantities they engage in it, is opening the Hellraiser box. It is inviting your own death. The fact that they choose to identify with it, the fact that they choose to keep doing it, even though it's dangerous and it leads to all sorts of health problems, not just AIDS, but other types of STDs, is proof positive that homosexuals are innately mentally ill.
All the homosexual has is the present. Because let's say gay marriage weren't an absolute joke, and the gays actually got married and stayed faithful to one another. There's no future in that. There is growing old, alone, and becoming ugly and irrelevant, and increasingly isolated. Like there actually is no gay community. Okay, it's not like young gay men go and visit old gay men at the hospital. All right, there's no community there. It's a sex club, and so the very innate nature of it is a future of loneliness and misery and ugliness. The very innate nature is hell. All they have is whatever they can grab at the present. And so the difference between being 45 years old, gay and healthy versus 45-year-old and full of STDs Well, yeah, the STDs are going to make you die a little bit faster, but you are still going to hell. So, of course, they grab everything they can right now, and they live in fantasy delusion worlds where, in some imaginary erotic fiction, Hitler would want to have sex with them.
Yes, the gays have no future. They explicitly are anti-future. I mean, again, look at someone like Grindr Greg Johnson. He is the most miserable piece of shit I've ever had. One of the most miserable pieces of shit I've ever had to deal with in my life. And it's because he's like 60 and he has nothing to look forward to. He's got no kids. He's got no grandkids. He's got no family. He's got no fulfilling life. All he has is his website and the movement. And the prospect of grooming yet another sexually confused teenage boy into a fleeting sexual encounter.
Yeah, and each year he gets older, and it's harder and harder to get that 17-year-old boy he's lusting after. There's no dignity of old age. There's no looking at your family and being proud of them. There's none of that. Whew. All right, we got Dashing Rogue. What did you have to say, brother?
I wanted to state that the alt-right really sounds like the fable of Don Quixote at this point. The men, at least. They're wanting to act like they're tough shit, and at the end of the day, they keep doing nothing. They keep attacking the windmill, saying it's a fucking giant. You know, they're acting all like traditional and trying to be all paladin-like. You being a paladin, sort of, at least. When you actually slay a dragon, they wouldn't know the difference between a dragon and a fucking actual windmill, you know? They're delusional.
They don't take it with any seriousness whatsoever. Okay? Like, they're acting like this is a big, stupid game. When they're playing politics, it's dangerous. And it really pisses me off, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Forney, because you and I have put our names out there, we've taken on this risk, and then we find out that the guys in the trench next to us think it's a big game, and they're tossing around grenades like they're apples. You know, like it's like, you fuckers. I am here for the fight. You guys are here to act like jackasses.
Ditto. I'm here for the fight also. Well, at least they could be good cannon fodder, right? I mean, that's pretty much the only thing they're good for at this point. And they can change, hopefully. I also wanted to say that I had a few friends that were... I want to say they've been doing a lot of drugs in the alt-right, haven't they? I don't know if... Like, this is the first time I've heard of it. But I have a few friends who are big into the alt-right. I think I've spoken about them before with you. One of them is... well, he knows Spencer. He says I know Spencer. But everyone knows Spencer. And he's taking cocaine and doing LSD and all this other shit. This really, really decadent shit. And the fact that this is happening, and I'm seeing this left, right, and center, and you're mentioning it, it's really making me question what the fuck is going on.
Well, I don't know about Richard Spencer specifically. But the thing is that, let's be frank, guys. Drugs make you stupid. All right, the reason you do drugs is to go have random sex with random people. All right? You don't do, I mean, I guess some people do blow so that they're better salesmen. But ecstasy, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, like none of this, you don't do any of this to help you study.
Hell, if anything, I do marijuana so I get pareidolia and things get interesting. But in any case. No, I mean, I've seen some people on the alt-right use cocaine. I've seen them. You know, some of them are, again, no evidence to take it with a grain of salt. The fact that I just wanted to say that. Other than that, I mean, that's it.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining, brother. We've got some other people at...
right on.
I'm going to boot you off.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers, brother. Honestly, cocaine. You want to go fund the Colombian cartels? The Colombian cartels that are sending their mistresses into the United States while they're pregnant so that the kid has American citizenship from birth? You want to fund those people? Yeah, why don't you just go throw money at Disney? You know, go subscribe to Netflix. Go watch a game of sports ball. Go give more money to your enemies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an anti-drug seller. There are some people who can use their drugs responsibly, like me, though I have not done drugs in quite some time. But it's not a habit you want to be encouraging. You don't want to be reliant on them. That's the issue. It's not so much the use; it's the reliance, and the fact that for many people, use does turn into reliance. I will say that I do believe that Richard Spencer is on some sort of opioids, and he is at minimum an alcoholic. If you watch his appearance in his most recent videos, Mike Enoch is definitely an alcoholic. The dude has slurred speech. His cheeks are always flushed. He's incapable of holding together a decent point when he's debating. He can't keep his mind focused, and he's insistent on sabotaging his long-term decisions to make his dick feel bigger, which is what he did when he chose his online LARPing career over his wife and his normie life.
It is absolutely heartbreaking watching these people self-destruct, except it's exactly what they deserve. It's exactly what they want, and God's just giving them exactly what they want. Why can't some people figure out that when I send you a link to the Google chat, you need to click on that link to join the chat, not phone me on Skype?
Really, nigga?
So, all of this feeds into what I see coming about. So we have the whole issue. This is what I was talking about with the folks over on Rocky Mysteries channel about where this FISA memo is headed. Because these people need to be prosecuted. If there's any hope to hold the American system together, these people need to be prosecuted. There needs to be law and order. But the problem is that 1/3 of the country supports Trump. Another third thinks that he stole the election with evil Russian magic. And another third is watching Star Wars and sports ball. So if Trump tries to do anything, the left is going to scream and hue and cry about how this is nothing but tyranny. The left will be in the wrong. But shortly after they do that, somebody who used to attend, anti-Occupy Wall Street protests, somebody that took a women's studies degree, somebody that used to date a tranny, somebody that person's going to pull out a gun and start shooting at the liberals, proving them right in the eyes of the public. That's how things are going to kick off, folks.
Yeah, just try not to get caught in the crossfire. Don't take stupid risks, people. Just don't. Okay, getting your dumb ass thrown in prison, or for nothing. It doesn't make you a hero. You're not a POW, as these LARPers say it. You're not a POW behind the fence. You're just an idiot.
By the way, just how many POWs died in Vietnam long after the war ended?
Quite a lot, if I recall.
You don't want to be a POW. Okay, it's not fucking glorious. It's terrible. Is your ego that precious to you? The self-conception of yourself as culture warrior, even though you accomplished nothing. Well, at least I went to prison. That proves that I'm a martyr for them. You're a martyr for absolutely nothing. No one's going to remember who you are. No one's going to sing songs about you. Like, Jesus Christ, guys, there is a winning team. All right, but you need to earn your way onto that winning team. You need to show some discipline. You need to start doing the right thing on a daily basis. You need to humble yourself. Then you might have an opportunity to do something great. But until then, you're just playing with your own pud. You're not even doing it very well either. Well, I think that about covers it. There's a couple more people that want to join, but they're having browser problems, apparently. Last thoughts, Matt Forney.
Christ. Stay away. Keep it together, people. Don't be careful who you listen to, okay? Don't get involved. Don't take dumb risks, okay? Be careful. And beware. Okay, that's it. I got nothing else to say.
You know what? It's, like we would make fun of the girl that decides to go hang out with the latest migrant, Muhammad Jihad, and his 12 buddies and get high with them. And then she's surprised at what happens afterwards. Okay? If you go and hang out with people, back in Hamilton, we called it heat. People that attract police attention to themselves. All right? If you are hanging out with a bunch of people, a bunch of white guys wearing wife beaters and pretending to rap and with one pant leg rolled up, cops are going to pay attention to you. If you're hanging out with a bunch of idiots that like to scream nigger and Jew and etc., cops are going to pay attention to you. Be careful. Just don't hang out with idiots. Good Lord. And Luke, you got any final thoughts?
We like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind.
You are acting like a bunch of niggers.
Oh, God. Exactly. Guys, things are falling apart. All right, Collins, we are just about to go off. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, yeah, I'm having some trouble with my browser. Sorry about this, guys. Sorry about that. I've been like messing around trying to find passwords and things. It's like I've run some kind of scan that's deleted everything. But yeah, your part earlier, you're all right, guys, when you're talking about like this gay thing. Massive point to make is gay men are good at manipulating men emotionally. That's the game they play. Them are the people they mix with. They're the best at it. So if you think of the alt-right as a movement of men, it's like these guys are the greatest experts in the world at manipulating you to get what they want from you, in essence. And the people that they're used to dealing with are other gay men, i.e. emotionally vulnerable men. So I smell this pimp factor in that movement as to where you've got guys in positions where that's their stock and trade. That's how they get laid. These guys are psychosexual, aren't they, in most cases, perverted. They like dick. And the way they go about getting it is how they talk.
You know what? You're right. They are fundamentally, it's this. Don't trust your daughter. I don't care how virtuous your daughter is. Don't trust her around the professional pornographer. He knows how to hit all the buttons. You send a whole bunch of guys raised by single moms, educated by a system that kicked them in the balls every day, who have been watching female Luke Skywalker beat up all the evil white males. Of course they're going to be vulnerable to this.
Yeah, they're waiting for Fagin to come along and lead them astray, or else someone to save them. It's the old Oliver Twist story.
Well, and so much of this goes towards anger at the father.
I tell you, Papa, just to throw a segue in, something for the viewers to look at. There was an almost embarrassing thing to see that Tommy Robinson did on Rebel Media, where there was this guy who sent him this, like, semi-literate but very hateful message threatening to kill his mother and his kids and his wife. And this guy used his real name. So Tommy Robinson tracked the guy down, this internet troll who was threatening his life. And he confronted him. And he was like a 3-year-old in a man's body. This guy making these death threats. And he was like, it's like he was a child. He was like, it was almost embarrassing that he like run him down in the street, and he was like a full retard. And it's like, you see that, and you see that this guy, he says, it wasn't my fault. I've been brainwashed by things I've seen on the internet. It's like, This guy's dangerous, and there's people out there who are that disturbed, and it's people like that who are that disturbed who end up doing fuck things that entire movements get labelled for. It's like, guys, we've got to be aware that there's some severe mental illness out there, and those are the people who pop off. Those are the people who do the bombings. Those are the people who assault people and give people a bad name. We've got to be mindful of it. Tell you, that guy, I couldn't believe it. It was to say, have you ever really seen like a full retard who's going like round the town, who's like an adult, like Hodor, like Master Blaster out of Mad Max 3? Remember that guy? Well, the giant with the mind of a child carrying around the little genius.
Mm-hmm.
The guy he pulled up was that. It's like, and you're an internet troll, gives people death threats. It's crazy as fuck, mate. It's like it was like picking on a cripple in the street, but this is the guy when he gets on the internet starts to gaslight and mouth off. It's like, what a fucking big shadow we can all like cast on this medium. It's pretty bad. The reality of life is at street level, we've got loads of millennial age people who are just retarded and good at covering for it. Can behave a bit in public, can put on a facade, but in general, all over the place, nutcases. Sorry, mate, I just thought I'd leave it and say. But the thing that they seek is to be led and saved, and pimps coming along, being the big brother they never had, is just the recipe for them.
Well, and this is what I'm saying about the whole situation. Most of them go for the Star Wars pimp because it's a lot easier to be pimped out by Star Wars and Disney than the alt-right. But some of them are going for the alt. It's the exact same thing at the end of the day.
Anyway, guys, thanks for letting me in at the last second.
All right, cheers. And we had a couple more people said they want to join, but I'm not getting any calls. And I want to go for 5 hours like that last time. I think this pretty much covered the history of it, the philosophy of what's going on. And guys, start reading. Like, all right, if you're not ready for church, go buy something by Quintus Curtius. Okay, go study Marcus Aurelius. Go read about virtue. Put down the tiki torch. Stop the frog memes. Learn to become a man. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for listening. God bless all of you, especially those of you backing me on Patreon. Hope you have a great Friday and you don't do any drug cocktails as part of it. Deus Volt. This is Aurini out.